I avoid horror movies because once they're in my head, they stay with me for too long. So it was quite a bit of a deep breath for me to step into a film like this.
Whatever you do, you only do because God allows it.
Did he allow that?
Hi Russell, I'm Lewis from Cineworld Cinemas. This is your first time leading a horror movie. Have you always been a fan of the horror genre, or is it something specific that's now got you into it?
Lewis, just between you, me, and the gatepost, I'm not a horror movie fan at all. I don't like horror films. I like fun movies. I like things that make me laugh. I like things like The Princess Bride. I like great sweeping adventures. I like stories of, generals in their climactic battles. I like psychological dramas like Papillon and things like that, for sure. But I avoid horror movies because once they're in my head, they stay with me for too long. So it was quite a bit of a deep breath for me to step into a film like this.
I'm not surprised. What do you think is different about this movie with The Pope's Exorcist that makes it stand out against the other horror movies then?
Well, I think it's very definitely got, although there's quite a dark center to the story, it has a lightness of touch in its storytelling in that it allows for quite a bit of humor, and that was one of the things that I discovered when I was doing my research on Father Amorth, is that he seemed to have this sense of humor. So for me, it became very important, and I discussed that with the director and with the producers of the film, and they sort of opened up the opportunity for me to bring that part of his personality to the movie. Because, there's a certain responsibility when you're playing a real person who's lived a real life. Now, yeah, we know there's a great deal of poetic license. We know we're making a feature film. It's just a piece of entertainment. But at the same time, bringing an essence of who the man really was is very important to me. So, and I think we've captured that, To me, in my research of him, the reason he was so effective in what he did for a job comes down to two things. And the first thing is the purity of his faith. And the second part of that is actually a sense of humor. He's dealing with a lot of afflicted people, day after day, dealing with their families who are grieving over the situation they're dealing, and he's dealing with a lot of darkness. And I think the way that he would balance that out in his own life is by, being a little silly every now and then, making people laugh.
Yeah, of course. So with any great Gothic horror movie, there's always underlying tones or themes that come with it. You mentioned grief, and there are themes in this of guilt and shame, forgiveness. If there was a message that you would want audiences to take away from watching this film, what do you think it would be?
Well, I definitely think that there is, with both of the central characters in the movie, there is a journey of facing up to things they may not have done right when they were younger, and coming to the point of being able to forgive yourself and move forward. But there's a whole lot of different things at play in this film. I mean, at the center of it's a horror film, but it also, it scratches into sort of historical aspects as well, which gives you a little bit of Da Vinci Code, a little bit of Indiana Jones or something. There's other things that make it more than just a horror film. For me, right, all of these questions and all the things and the thematics you talked about, that's all there and all cool. But the principal thing for me is you walk out of this film and were you entertained? That's the question. And if you're entertained, then we've done our job,
Which, of course, just brings me finally and very quickly, if you could sum up why this should be seen on the big screen with us at Cineworld.
Well, I think it's very definitely one of those films that's made to be seen on a big screen, You have a whole bunch of effects and situations that happen within the film that, seeing them with friends, amongst a group of strangers, but having somebody close by that you can grab onto, I think that's a really good idea. And it's the sort of film that even though it will take you down this sort of dark path as we were discussing, it's also going to make you laugh. And you see the imagery of Father Amorth scooting around Rome on his Lambretta. There's definitely a balance to the movie.
My faith does not require defense.